Yeah, this show is so bad. Tomas didn't even want to show his face for this one.
Oh yes, you could say that my face is covered with bad blood.
Oh my Lord. Yeah, I'm glad to see that Tomas is doing A-okay right now, but yeah, we're just gonna go with Bad Blood 2003, and I'm really god awful. I'm not excited to talk about this show at all.
Yeah, welcome back to the ZNT Wrestling Show starring Zack and Faceless Tomas.
Yes.
In all seriousness, let's just get this out of the way right now. I unfortunately suffered a concussion at my show this past weekend. And the doctor says I need to limit my screen time. So that's why you're not seeing my face tonight.
That's right.
I will be sure to transfer all of my anger from facial expressions to my voice. So don't worry, you're not going to be missing. And then we're going to put a funny photo up. We haven't decided yet. It could be the poster.
It could be
Scott Steiner. It could be The Miz, just to make everybody mad. We haven't decided yet.
It could be Omos, because Tomas and Omos rhyme. So... And Tomas is so upset.
I didn't even think about that.
Tomas is so upset now. But yeah, so this was the first Raw exclusive pay-per-view ever, not counting any of the British house shows that we were getting around this time, Ruthless Aggression era. First Raw exclusive pay-per-view, and it had a killer theme song that Tomas has alluded to on many of these pods in the past. But Peacock did not give me Headstrong. It did not do it. It made me so mad.
I guess you could say they did such a good job of editing it that I didn't even notice, but there was no alluding to this song whatsoever. It's definitely one of the top 3 theme songs of the Ruthless Aggression era for me, pay-per-view wise.
It's up there.
It's one of the most memorable.
Yeah.
It's up there with Bring Me to Life. It's up there with, it's up there with the best.
It's up there.
But not only was this a Raw exclusive pay-per-view, this was Stone Cold Steve Austin and Eric Bischoff present Bad Blood. This was, like we said in an earlier podcast, Stone Cold Steve Austin was done wrestling, but he was not done in the WWE, not by a long shot.
No.
They brought him back to be the co-general manager of Monday Night Raw. This was because Vince felt that Eric Bischoff was getting a little too power hungry. He was siding a little too much with the heels.
Just a smidge.
So I think it was Linda. Linda came in and appointed Stone Cold as co-general manager. And then later on, he would be basically the deputy. Yeah, I feel like that was later on in the year, but he would be the sheriff.
The sheriff
would be the
of
official
Raw.
sheriff. The official sheriff of Monday Night Raw.
He sure would.
And I don't think we've gotten to that stipulation that Linda gave him yet. But there is a special stipulation that's going to be put to kind of set Austin, because let's just say Austin was favoring the faces, Bischoff was favoring the heels.
Very much so, to balance that out, basically. But
so Bischoff and Austin present this pay-per-view. They're kind of at each other's throats. Bischoff doesn't like Austin. Austin doesn't like Bischoff. So they decide to settle their differences tonight and not a wrestling match, because we already saw that in No Way Out. They're going to be participating in what Stone Cold calls the Redneck Triathlon.
Why?
Basically a 2 out of 3, and I'm going to use air quotes, contest featuring a spin the wheel, and every single time it's going to be some sort of hillbilly redneck competition, whether it be hay throwing or some of the choices of the wheel included tobacco spitting, wood chopping.
Literally, the first backstage segment had a chainsaw. Like, just to give you an idea, where was Terry Funk when we needed him? Chainsaw Charlie. So, like, that would have made up so much for this.
But like we said, this is a Raw exclusive pay-per-view, so WWE has to use the Monday Night Raw roster as best as they could, and we kick this off with a very strange tag team match.
So weird.
The Dudley Boyz. It's the Dudley Boyz, Bubba Ray and Devon, taking on Christopher Nowinski and the debuting pay-per-view of Rodney Mack. Do you remember Rodney Mack, Zach?
Of course I remember Rodney Mack. It's the only time we're ever going to talk about him on the ZNT Wrestling Show. He brought about the infamous White Boy Challenge, the open challenge on Monday Night Raw. He was, of course, accompanied by Teddy Long, part of his heel clientele, along with the women's champion Jazz at the time, who was curiously absent from this pay-per-view. Yeah, I don't know if she was injured or what, but...
after watching this match, I think Mack could be the equivalent to Monday Night Raw's Nathan Jones. And he was basically just a pet project Vince had on Raw. And spoiler alerts right now, that pet project failed miserably.
Very much so.
So the basis of this match is basically, and they said this in a segment on Heat, Nowinski and Mack are trying to get in Devon's head by trying to tell him, why is Bubba Ray always bossing you around? Why is Bubba Ray always telling you to go get the tables? And basically they're trying to instill this white supremacy. Bubba Ray thinks he's better than Devon because of race. I think that's very unnecessary, but here we are. That's what this match is based around. And
ladies and gentlemen, you are seeing the first problem that I have with this match. Christopher Nowinski and Rodney Mack are the black sympathizers, and they're the bad guys. The direct quote from Chris Nowinski was, "Why is your white brother always telling you to get the tables?" And I'm like, good point. Yeah, why is
very strange. I will say, I don't know why race has to get brought into this.
Exactly.
I feel like they could have just said, why? Bubba Ray could easily think he's more superior to you just because, he likes to boss you around. I think the race thing was very, and if anyone's going to be saying that, it should be Teddy Long, not Nowinski.
Mm-hmm. The Harvard graduate, white as a sheet, like wearing the protective mask because of too many concussions, so weird.
Yeah, and I will say, because, Teddy Long based his entire character around Malcolm X. He has the Martin Luther King Jr. poster when he's the SmackDown GM.
He sure
if
does.
Anyone's going to be preaching anything like that, it's going to be Teddy Long.
It sure is. It sure is. But they come out to his infamous Mac Militant theme song, which is admittedly fire. I love that. And it feels so weird seeing Chris Nowinski walk out to the Mac Militant theme song. But
also later on in the year, we will see Mark Henry adopt that theme song. And that is weird.
Yeah. It's like we're stuck in like the Twilight Zone of wrestling. Mark Henry walking out to a GM's theme song, but it's
very weird.
it's a weird match. The Dudley boys have early heat on Christopher Nowinski, who, may I remind you, Tomas, is the heel in this whole debacle, and then Devon is crotched on the ring post, and then the heels have heat on Devon. Like, if they're building up that Devon is supposed to be the hero in this, like, why is Bubba the one who's getting the hot tag?
Yeah,
I feel like
as
they should have switched the roles.
Exactly. As strange as this match was, if you want to get your point across, then definitely Bubba Ray should have been the one taking the heat in this match. And also, this is the first time we kind of see Mack in the ring not on Raw, and oh my God, greener as green can be. This guy is not good.
Not very good, is he? No. But
no. But you can tell Vince was very high on him because they praised the hell out of him in this match. But this guy he is a student among professors in this match.
Not to mention his finisher is the blackout racist. Racist Vince McMahon. But
and this match definitely could have been booked a lot better with the premise, but like I said, this is the first Raw exclusive pay-per-view, and it really shows here because you would never see Nowinski or Rodney Mack on a pay-per-view ever if you had one of the any of the bigger SmackDown guns on this show.
Nope. Not at all. But there is Bubba does get the hot tag not even like 5 minutes into the match. He hits the Dusty Rhodes bionic elbow to Chris Nowinski's face because, again, may I remind you, Nowinski was wearing the concussion mask. What's up with Teddy Long distracting the referee? And then Chris Nowinski takes the mask off and hits Bubba Ray square in the jaw with it, pins him, disappointing this Houston crowd with no tables, even though they were chanting, "We want tables" early on, and there were disqualifications in this. But
yeah, and they even did the Bubba Ray tells Devon to go get the tables. That could have sparked something. I don't even remember this rivalry even going anywhere. I don't think it went anywhere. It was just there to waste our time.
1.5 stars. It was a match. The psychology just felt ass backwards for me.
It definitely did. I can, I don't want to be too mean. I think I was going to give it a 2, but I think that's a little too generous. I'll give it a 1.75 for the effort, just because, again, we praise Nowinski on this channel. Dudley Boyz is my favorite tag team of all time. This is just an excuse to keep the Dudleys. distracted until they can get the tag team titles again. More on that later.
Until they can go after the tag titles, rather. But yes, and then to your point, we cut to the first of three segments too many of this goddamn Redneck Triathlon. A burping contest is what we start with. Poor Terry Runnels is in the backstage area moderating this whole ordeal. Both Austin and Bischoff get 3 burps each, and the whole gimmick is Austin is just chugging beer like nobody's business, and he's got loud butch burps compared to Eric Bischoff's wimpy ass burps. So of course Steve Austin wins. So
these burps are so fucking fake.
Yes. Yeah.
They are so, and I hate using that word when talking about wrestling, but these burps are so fucking fake. It's just like, who are you trying to fool? It's basically the equivalent of when you were a little kid and you found like a burping soundboard on the computer, and then you would go up to your parents or your siblings and go, hey guys, check this out. And you would play the soundboard and you would just open your mouth and pretend to burp. You know, I've seen better sound effects when I did Shrek the Musical when they did the burping and the farting there. This was just bad.
It was so awful. So bad. And it will only go downhill from here, my friends. The show
I was 9 years old and I was cringing at this.
Yeah. Yeah, me too. But hey, you want to talk about cringe? In this next match, the winner gets the managerial services of one Stacy Keibler. Test going one-on-one with Scott Steiner, who, may I remind you, the month before, these two were teaming together against La Resistance. As the old saying goes, fuck this match and all of its glory. And it was so bad.
And for those who really don't know, literally the weekend before at Rebellion, they already did this match with the same stipulation.
They sure did. They
retconned it so hard. And it was the definition of a house show. If this pay-per-view was going to be broadcast, then there was no point to do something that was going to get retconned the very next weekend.
Nah, no way. And it's going to get retconned even more as the year 2003 goes on, ladies and gentlemen. But let me just say...
Again, it's testing. Go on. I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say that Test is not to blame for this match being as bad as it was. He was playing his character really, really well. He was such a smug, arrogant, cheating little cuck when he was walking out to the ring. He was blowing a kiss at Lillian Garcia. Like, it was great.
You know what would have made this match at least a little better?
What's that?
If the roles were reversed.
Yeah. If Test was
the face.
Test was a cheating bastard though at Backlash, so I mean he can't be the baby face. So
here's the thing: how about you swap the roles this entire time? Take this into consideration. We have made fun of Scott Steiner so much on this channel and deserve to do so. But you know what's one thing Steiner is good at? Being a heel.
Yeah, he's great at being a heel. Like the crowd.
So what drugs were WWE on when they signed this guy and they said, "Let's make him the white meat babyface"?
Oh God, I don't want to revisit his world title feud. I don't want to, but I don't know what they were thinking.
And again, you say anything you want about WCW and the downfall of them, but if there's one thing they did do right near the end of their run, is they booked Scott Steiner extremely well because he was a good heel.
He was,
and as the world champion,
dickhead.
It worked. It worked.
I was just going to say Scott Steiner, like, at least he could work back in the WCW days. 2003, Scott Steiner, he can't even jump off of an apron to hit an axe handle on Test, who was flirting with Stacy as she walks to the ring. Steiner goes for an axe handle. He eats shit. And I laughed and I laughed and I laughed. Like,
it's an extremely infamous spot. And it's so infamous to the point that, of course, WWE edited the camera angle so you would not see the obvious botch.
It was so bad.
It's one of those, it's infamous when WWE does that because botches can be left in, but look up any single wrestling botch compilation and this one is going to be on there. And it's just like,
absolutely.
How do you fuck up that bad?
Every botchamania that you see on YouTube will have this spot in there. Absolutely. And believe it or not, the match gets worse. Test is chucking Scott Steiner into the steel steps. And I wrote down that I thought Steiner fell asleep at that point. he was very, very bad. Like, put aside the horrendous botch to start off the match. He was awful. So bad.
Was literally carrying whatever was left of this match.
Yep. The crowd and Stacy Keibler were chanting, "You suck." I don't know who they were chanting it at. There was a belly-to-belly suplex, and Test almost landed on his head, getting a worse concussion than Tomas got the other night.
Yeah, exactly. I saw that spot, and I'm just like, it literally looked like, oh no. So when that spot happened, JR says, oh, that looked like a modified Northern Light suplex. No, JR, that was not a modified Northern Light suplex. That was Scott Steiner did a belly-to-belly, almost dropped Test on his head, but he somehow was able to turn it into a belly-to-belly at the last second.
Somehow. That shows you how much of a pro Test was for carrying this match. Scott Steiner makes a comeback. The crowd is dead silent. Stacy Keibler stops Test from exposing the top turnbuckle, and then it goes into a big boot for a very close 2 count, oddly enough. And then Stacy tries to take a steel chair away from Test, who is a whiny little bitch at this point in the match that he can't put Big Papa Pump away. And then we get my personal favorite spot of this whole entire match, and only Test could have made this work. He goes for a chair shot. Steiner moves out of the way. The chair ricochets off the top rope. Test hits himself flat in the face, knocks himself loopy, and then Steiner hits a flatliner, and then he gets the managerial services of Stacy Keibler, which will be retconned in about 3 months. I'm trying not to get as mad as I am at this, but
oh no,
yeah.
You have every right to get mad. It's really bad.
Match sucked.
JR is really happy with this. He even goes as far as saying he acts like Steiner won the world title, which in an alternate timeline probably happened. But JR says, oh, this is probably going to be the start, which I can only assume will be a long and beautiful relationship. And the first thing I thought of was that redheaded guy from Megamind, where that one citizen goes, oh my God, thank you, we're saved. And he says, I wouldn't say saved, more like under new management. And that's basically what this is. Stacy went from one abusive asshole to another abusive asshole.
Yeah, pretty much. And it's all going to be retconned, like I said, at Unforgiven. Stay tuned for that review once it comes out, my friends. But 1 star, and that 1 star goes to Test by himself because he tried so hard to make this match work. Bless his heart. May he rest in peace.
A star for effort for Test. Again, this match, this whole angle probably could have came off a lot better if right from the start, Steiner was the heel and Test was the face. Literally swapped their spots.
If Steiner was just trying to steal his woman, you know?
Yeah. And if, Steiner was just, think about it like Test, I know this is a very, very like bold comparison, but with the right booking, you could have made Test and Stacy look like Macho Man and Miss Elizabeth.
Yeah. No, you really could have.
With the right booking.
Uh-huh. Yep, and with Stacy, as cringe as, what Test's fans were called back in the day, like, you could have easily made that work. I agree with you, but they just had to have Test to cheat on Stacy at Backlash, and they had to force feed this storyline. Bad. Yeah. Bad.
And what is our theme this entire year? For the 5th time, WWE drops the ball on Test.
Yep. And this will not be the last time they drop the ball on Test, but... Oh boy, speaking of dropping the ball, what do we have next, Tomas?
We have the Intercontinental Championship is back. The Intercontinental Championship is back on the line in pay-per-view, where Christian Cage is defending the title against hometown hero Booker T.
This will be important, viewers. This will be important. Houston, Texas, Booker T's hometown. Who do you think wins?
So let's rewind back to Judgment Day and how upset I got over that. They had the Intercontinental Championship Battle Royal to determine a new Intercontinental Champion. Booker won that Battle Royal. I stand by that statement. Booker wins the Battle Royal, but by some very, very shitty booking decisions. Christian is able to win the Intercontinental title.
He sure is.
This pit match is the definition of filler. It's there just to put a match on the card and to...
I don't know if I'd call it filler, especially when you compare it to the previous match. This, I don't think was filler. I was actually looking forward to this.
Also, let me remind you, this is another match they literally did the weekend prior at Rebellion.
They sure did.
And it basically had the same finish.
This was so Rebellion or whatever that show was called in England. Like that was just a practice run for Bad Blood, is what you're saying.
It basically
So
was.
weird.
Yeah.
So weird. But I also got to talk
the same
about
main event, just the same stipulation. Different stipulation.
I also got to talk about Christian's new haircut because he ran into The Rock on a random episode of Raw on one of his sporadic appearances in the Ruthless Aggression era. And he basically was calling himself the new People's Champion because he had Raw's secondary title, and he was calling his fans the Peeps, looking out for the Peeps, and he still does that pose to this very day. I love this iteration of Christian. It was new and improved. He had a brand spanking new entrance theme, which is honestly one of his more underrated themes that he's ever had. But yeah, this never in any doubt who should have won this thing because Booker T was on fire and there was some good wrestling like in the early going of this match, some really good wrestling. And one of my favorite cliches, Tomas, Christian hit the bookend. More, give me more.
And
finishers.
And to stack it on top of that, you just talked about The Rock. He was basically giving out like this one's for you, Rocky.
Yeah,
this is
sure
for you, Dwayne.
Christian Bottom.
It was a shout out to the Rock.
It sure
and
was.
JR said it was a bookend, but I think it would have been funnier if he would have said the Rock Bottom, the Peep Bottom, anything.
The Christian Bottom.
The Christian Crusher, anything.
Yep. Booker hit a nice draping scissors kick. It looks like I thought he was going to hit a Houston hangover in his hometown, and I was getting ready for it, but he did not. It was just a missile drop kick.
After WrestleMania. After WrestleMania.
And there were some good near falls in this too. Booker was going for a spin-a-rooney, and then Christian rolls out of the ring, and what happens? I'll let you take this. He tried to get
counted out.
He sure did.
In a very rare instance of continuity in the WWE, the referee, because believe it or not, the referee does have authority in the ring, grabs the mic and says, Christian, if you do not get back in the ring by the count of 10, not only will you lose the match, you will forfeit the Intercontinental title. And I go, that's brilliant.
Yeah.
More referees should be stepping into that line of authority because you don't need a Vince McMahon or a Stephanie or an Adam Pearce or a Teddy Long to tell, it's like the GM should be like, you know what, referee, I'm not going to come out for every single match. I'm busy with other stuff. If shit goes down, you're in charge. I give you full authority to make that sort of call.
Yep. And you can have Jack Dolan come in, like, know, get on the microphone and be like, you know what? This is a pay-per-view. I don't want this to end on a bad finish. I demand this match restart. This is now no countouts. And Christian, if you try to get counted out, you lose the title. And I'm like, brilliant. So Christian Christian had the title, and then what does he do?
And then he immediately gets back in the ring, and he blasts Booker with the title, and the ref disqualifies him, and the match is over.
So let me get this straight. He stops the count out just to get him disqualified.
Yeah.
In Booker T's hometown. Like,
we've seen this happen at pay-per-views before. Famously at SummerSlam 2009 between John Cena and Randy Orton. You get counted out, you restart the match. You get disqualified, you restart the match.
Yeah. Yeah, this is a finish that TNA made famous 6 years after this. So WWE did this first. A lot of people remember the weird match that Beer Money had with the Dudley Boys at Destination X 2009 for the tag titles. They get disqualified, and then Jim Cornette comes out, and he's like, you know what? This is a pay-per-view. I demand this match restart, and this is now no disqualification. And then they restart the match after a DQ just for Beer Money to get counted out. WWE did this shit first. So I don't want anybody to rag on TNA for this bullshit finish.
And how ironic that Christian and Booker T were two of TNA's top stars in 2009. And we're first witnessing this year.
Yep. So yeah, the fans are irate in Booker T's hometown because remember, this was tailor-made for Booker T to win the Intercontinental Championship in his hometown of Houston, Texas. They chanted bullshit. Christian leaves with the title. It cuts to the back of Kevin Nash. Jerry Lawler's music hits, and there's loud boos. The crowd hated this. I hated this.
And think about it this way, too. This $50 match, because you have to pay $50 for a pay-per-view, is going to get retconned on an episode of Raw.
It sure is. It sure is. But I can't be as generous and give this 2 3/4. I'm gonna bump this down to 2.5 because the wrestling, for all intents and purposes, Tomas, I know what you're thinking. The wrestling was very, very good in this match, I thought, but
I can give it 2.25 for the wrestling, but when the ending is so dog shit, you know, it's like, who cares about the wrestling? It led to nothing.
Yeah, the bullshit convoluted finish was terrible. Like, what was so wrong with Booker T winning the Intercontinental Championship in his hometown on pay-per-view?
Yeah, Christian was obviously the transitional champion in this feud. You know, he will go on to win the title like 5 or 6 more times. So what's the point of him holding it any longer now?
Yeah, well, he would go on to hold it for a little while longer after this whole debacle. I believe he would hold it into the fall, and then I think it was Van Dam who took the belt off of him in an underrated ladder match on Raw, but I could be very wrong about that. But
I should have went on Booker T.
It really,
the longer we go into this retrospective, the more justified his heel turn in 04 comes to be. Later, more on that much later, but
more on his heel turn when he goes to SmackDown around this time next year. So I fast forwarded this next part. Do you want to sum up what happens in this pie eating contest?
Yeah, because you know,
like, good Lord,
we've reviewed some stuff on this channel that's been like cringy, but nothing as fucking disgusting as this was. Because you know, we've done the Tori and Dawn Marie and Al stuff, which, as cringy as it was, Dawn Marie's a good worker. Al was thrilled to be on TV with his daughter. We've talked about HLA before, and that was cringe, but at least Billy and Chuck versus 3 Minute Warning was a fun match. But nothing would be as fucking disgusting as this next contest. It's round 2 of the Redneck Triathlon, and they land on a pie eating contest.
Of course they do.
Now I know what you're thinking. What's wrong with that? Bischoff even said, okay, cool. Pecan pie, pumpkin pie, apple pie, chocolate
plastic pie.
And then Austin says, we're not talking about that pie. You know what The Rock is talking about? Poo-tang pie.
Yep, that's what they were doing. That's what they were doing. They were going risque.
So obviously this goes over my head as a 9-year-old kid that I'm pretty sure I ordered this pay-per-view. I can't believe I'm saying that, but I think I did. So, oh God, I don't want to go too much into detail into this.
No,
but
no,
so
you don't have to.
WWE is promoting advertising live porn on their show. What the fuck?
Yeah, on pay-per-view. Yeah, and it ends up with you know, 2 old ladies wrestlers who are out of their prime and Stone Cold stuns Mae Young. That's all you really need to know from this segment.
You know what? God bless Mae Young. I'm going to try and turn this negative into a positive.
Yeah.
The best thing about Mae Young is that she always showed up when you least expected it. And no matter what, it was always funny every single time.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, it could be funny most of the time. But other than that, I mean, this was just bad cringe. You did not need a Redneck Triathlon on pay-per-view. But you know what?
No, but when you have an exclusive Raw pay-per-view, they got to fill the time somehow. But why would you do that when the longest match on the show is 21 minutes?
They had Bad Blood 2003 instead of a King of the Ring tournament on this year, guys. Keep that in mind as we continue through this. But next up, we do have a match for the World Tag Team titles. The unlikely duo of Rob Van Dam and Kane are defending against La Resistance, if I can speak properly. But yeah, these young lads are on an undefeated streak, and they just don't like America at all. And JR is like, if you don't like this country, you love it, or by God, you leave it. You know, like he was just irate at these young guys on commentary. And they actually did dedicate their match to the French president at the time, who the internet tells me his name was Jacques Chirac. You know, I could be pronouncing that wrong, but in any case, the whole story of this match was how RVD and Kane kind of have an uneasy alliance, how Kane did not come to Van Dam's help or his aid, I guess I should say, about a week ago when Van Dam was assaulted 2-on-1. So that's basically the whole story of this. Kane and RVD are growing further and further apart. Kane is growing more unhinged by the minute, which I will address after this. But it was, I mean, match was fine. I mean, there really wasn't much to it. It was actually a lot
match
shorter
was
than
basically the launching pad for La Resistance, and it just kind of dawned on me right now. This would be the preface of what they would do 2 years later with Eddie Guerrero and Rey Mysterio, and how that rivalry helped launch Eminem into the WWE.
Oh, that's right. That is good call. Good call on that. I didn't even think about that.
So La Resistance, this match was basically for them. This was a launching pad for them. I thought they were excellent heels for the time, and not a bad tag team whatsoever as well. They had their chemistry pretty down in this match.
Not bad at all. Yeah, Rene Dupree was a young prodigy with a dance move, and Sylvain Grenier, you know, was an established developmental wrestler who was in a controversial angle with Vincent Hogan earlier in the year. Now he's on Raw, actually, you know, wrestling full-time. And they were a really good team. And once Rob Conway comes into the picture, it becomes a formidable trio. You know, any one of those three could have defended the world tag titles at any point. So,
it was definitely a underrated tag team for the time.
Yeah, for sure. And they made the Freebird rule popular in the Ruthless Aggression era before the New Day really made it, you know, common knowledge to everybody. But it was they're kind of a diamonds in the rough, I guess you can say, are La Resistance. But there's massive heat on Van Dam after a monkey flip is interrupted. Kane gets a brief hot tag. Van Dam tags back in, and he's going for a nice little tope on La Resistance, but they pull Kane in the line of fire. See what I did there? Line of fire. And then Kane goes down on accident. And then it's so weird because La Resistance just hits their double chokeslam finisher on Van Dam, and then Sylvain just pins him. JR was shocked at this. Like,
clean as a whistle.
Flabbergasted. You know, I could not remember another time where JR was more surprised this year. Like, because I know
those dirty bastard foreign heels. How dare you be from another country?
Well, I know.
How dare you have opinions?
Well, it wasn't even that. It was more like a lot of people tell the story about how JR was shocked that Malachi Black beat Cody Rhodes as quick as they did at Homecoming. I think that's apparently because JR does not like having the results leaked to him before the show, so he can watch along with the fans and having to learn the results as he goes. So that way,
I think that's very good.
I think it's great
emotion out of him.
It's
kind of like what he would do a few years later at Backlash 06 when he cursed on live pay-per-view.
He sure did. He was absolutely flabbergasted that La Resistance pinned Van Dam so quickly. He called it a major upset, which honestly it was, because Van Dam and Kane were challenging for the world title not even like a year prior to this. So great stuff here. La Resistance win the tag titles. I mean, match was fine. It just sort of ended. There was no choke slam. There was no 5-star frog splash, but it was all about putting over La Resistance.
Yeah.
I'm comfortable giving it 2.25. It was fine. You know,
I'll give it 2.5, mainly for La Resistance. And there was not even any dissension between RVD and Kane.
Oh,
so that storyline wouldn't even get further, not until Raw.
That would come.
Talk about that now.
Yes, I would actually. I would. So this is actually the last pay-per-view for a while that we would see Kane wearing the mask, because about 8 days later on Raw in Madison Square Garden, Kane has a title versus mask match against Triple H, which Kane loses, of course. And Kane has to unmask in front of the world with that weird Doink the Clown thing behind him on his head, and he had the weird, like, you know, like the charcoal on his eyes. Like, it was a weird reveal, thinking more and more about it. But yeah, Kane's unmasked, and he would grow more and more unhinged, and his rivalry with Van Dam would only intensify. And I think we're going
to save that. Yeah, we're going to save that for later when we get into that. But we do want to preface that this is the last of Goofy masked, you know, kissing Terry,
Kane Rooney.
Nope. And no more jokes for this guy. At least for now.
Listen, Kane, you sick son of a bitch. You ugly son. Anywho, I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. So, up next, speaking of bald-headed wrestlers, Tomas, it's your favorite.
Oh, here we go. First time since Backlash. It is a match with some very interesting history behind it. It's our buddy Bill Goldberg versus Chris Jericho. Why do I say interesting history? Because back in the day, I want to say 96 or 97, Jericho very much, he was petitioning, rallying in WCW for a match with Goldberg. He wrote the whole storyline himself. He wrote like 6 weeks worth of material on Nitro where he'd be calling out Goldberg, challenging him to a match, and he did most of this. And it was supposed to culminate into a match with Goldberg, I believe, at Fall Brawl, where, you know, Goldberg would get the win and basically get Jericho off his back.
With the title on the line?
Heat.
Was it after Goldberg won the title? It must have been. One of the two.
I'm not sure. It may have just been while he was mowing down people on WCW. Yeah. But I guess there was some real life heat, and Goldberg straight up said, I'm not working with that pipsqueak Jericho. I'm above him. He's below me. So the storyline never came into fruition. For years and years, Jericho talked about, I wanted to work with Goldberg. He wasn't being a good sport about it. He was being a diva. So coming to WWE, Jericho's a former world champion. Goldberg gone from WCW. The match is finally happening. And the first thing I'm going to say is the buildup was pretty damn good for this match.
It was interesting because Jericho didn't mention that him and Goldberg had real life heat. He actually referred to Goldberg as his friend in WCW days, which is odd. But then you have some really strong aspects like Jericho paying off Lance Storm to run Goldberg down in the parking lot, and then Goldberg beating the shiznit out of poor Lance Storm on Raw. And then basically, it goes down to Jericho inviting Goldberg on the highlight reel and beating the crap out of him. Always getting the upper hand on him, always being like, it's a very cat and mouse. Yeah, it was a very cat and mouse style of game for sure. Jericho did spear Goldberg. Goldberg tried to spear Jericho, but he instead speared Lil Nate, referee Charles Robinson, who got to give them credit on the continuity here. Charles Robinson was the official for this match after that god-awful spear he took. Like, more power to him. But
and Jericho is explaining in the build to Christian, it's like, I'm in Goldberg's head. You know, I tried to get him run down. I speared him on the highlight reel. He speared the referee. He has nothing on me. So considering that this was a pretty predictable finish, Jericho went into this pay-per-view with a lot of momentum.
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely. For sure. It was almost like a Shane McMahon Big Show style feud from back in the day, the which way did he go style of gimmick. But
yeah, and I feel like if there's one thing this pay-per-view does have, it does have a template for ideas that would get used in the future, because fast forward to 2009, The Miz would actually adopt this style for his feud with John Cena.
He sure did.
Called Cena out like 6 weeks in a row, claimed he was 5-0 against Cena, until Cena finally came out and squashed him in 5 minutes at the Great American Bash.
Freaking great.
But it was a great little template feud that future wrestlers would use. So props to Jericho and Goldberg for actually putting on a fun little program with this match.
And it was a pretty fun little match, too. I mean, in the early going, it was a little bit rough because Goldberg had Jericho crotched on the top rope. Goldberg hits Jericho with a thrust kick, which thankfully does not end Chris Jericho's career. Too soon on that one? Too soon?
Just a little. I think
just a little.
The commentary team even said, "Oh, Goldberg is resulting to that kick." I'm like, "Oh,
yeah." Little too
4
soon.
years ago, a little too on the nose.
A little bit.
The same. So you mean to tell me that Goldberg is so desperate he's resorting to a move he used to end Bret Hart's career 4 years ago? Ooh.
And not even 2 minutes into the match, like he wants to end Jericho quickly. Which honestly, again, give Goldberg credit. He needs to end his matches as quick as possible. But this one went like 10 minutes. And it wasn't bad at all. Goldberg spears through the barricade, which, give him credit where it's due. I think he was selling that shoulder ridiculously well in this thing. Goldberg was also busting himself open, spearing himself through the barricade, which is bold, to say the very least. The crowd is...
Oh, please. We've seen Goldberg bust his head open on doors before. This is not a surprise to me.
Yes, it's nothing new. It's nothing new. Speaking of nothing new, it's at this point in the match where I really started to notice that this crowd in Houston, Texas was way behind Chris Jericho. They really, really wanted to see him pull this one off. And they were chanting Y2J everywhere. I heard some Goldberg sucks chant from the floor section up against the hard cam. It was pretty weird for a little 6-year-old, 7-year-old kid like myself watching this, thinking Goldberg was the coolest thing ever. And then hearing the crowd booing Goldberg because I was
too naive to understand. I still think this was too soon to be saying Goldberg sucks. He was very much protected to the point where he wasn't too exposed. And I think this match was good because Jericho made him work.
He really did. And I have a question for you, Tomas. How many of Jericho's 1,004 holds do you think you could list off if you rewatch this?
Oh, because he performed about 500 of them in this match.
Hold 2, arm bar. Hold 4, arm bar. You know, like
so many arm bars.
Yeah, so many arm bars. But there was a Jericho went through an axe handle, and Goldberg hit him with a nice knee lift in midair, catching him, like intercepting the axe handle. Goldberg then makes his comeback. There's an awkward judo throw. Goldberg hits a move after he blocks the lion salt. It was, it was a decent little comeback. Goldberg, oh man, the crowd they really wanted Jericho to win this thing. Goldberg hits one spear. Can't get him up for the jackhammer because remember, he's selling his shoulder. Jericho locks in the walls. Of course, Goldberg makes it to the ropes. But then, Goldberg wins. Spear, jackhammer. Don't sell the shoulder anymore because why even bother anymore? Goldberg pins Jericho easily. Was there any doubt? I mean, this was, give him credit, it was one of the better matches he had in this year he had with WWE. For sure. And I don't know if I can speak for Tomas here.
And unfortunately, because I can't turn on the screen, you know what? Yeah, I can. I can turn it on for a second.
Turn it on for a second.
Uh-oh. Yeah, I can turn it on for a second. If I can figure out this how. I can show this for a second. I have here the list of Jericho. It is a list of every single match Jericho has ever wrestled in his career up to probably around in the middle of this year. You've seen it advertised on AEW. Short little plug there.
Yeah, but there you go.
We were curious and we flipped to this match. Should have saved the page.
It was a 3-star match.
Yeah, basically, Jericho gave this match 3 stars. And you know what? Me and Zack are going to match Jericho's record and agree with the demigod himself. And we're going to give it 3 stars because this was actually a very fun match.
It was. It was actually my second favorite match on the show, oddly enough, which Tomas and I were talking about this a couple nights ago. If your second favorite match of the night features Goldberg, you know something's wrong with your pay-per-view, you know?
Oh, yeah.
So,
and just because I have the book right in front of my face and I flipped to a random page, interesting. He gave his WrestleMania match with William Regal 2.5 stars.
Oh, so basically by Jericho's logic, Goldberg is greater than William Regal. I don't buy that. I don't buy that at all.
Given the circumstances.
Yeah, Jericho certainly carried this match 150,000%. Goldberg wanted to pick a fight with the fan in the front row who was not cheering for him. But, I mean, again, you got to give Goldberg credit where it's due because he certainly carried his end of the load. His selling of that shoulder was excellent, I thought. I go as far as saying Goldberg did something excellent in this match. But in any case, yeah, very, very
Don't get too excited, friends. This is probably the most positive we're ever going to say about Goldberg in these retrospectives. Because it's all downhill from here.
It sure is. It sure is. Speaking of downhill, I have 2 words for you guys. Sing off.
Oh, let's end this charade now.
Please.
So they're in the back with Terry, and they spin the wheel, and it's, you know what? I did find this part funny. Stone Cold refers back to all of his times in the Attitude Era when he was a heel, and he tried to sing. Mm-hmm. And Bischoff is laughing, and Stone Cold looks at Terry and says, "Have you ever heard me sing before?" And she goes, "Yeah." I'm like, "I'm not very good, am I?" And Terry says, "No, you're not a very good singer." So I thought that was funny. A bit of continuity right there. Yeah, Austin very much, admitting he's not a good singer. You know what? You can be the best ass kicker in the world. That doesn't mean you're necessarily Celine Dion on the mic.
Yes. Oh, 150,000%. But then Eric Bischoff goes out to the ring and then he tells them to hit his music. He is lip syncing to his theme song, which can be seen all over his Titantron on YouTube. And I thought that's where it came from, him lip syncing to his theme. But I forgot that it was on pay-per-view.
Bischoff's theme in real life.
Freaking great.
Who are they? I just want to talk. I just want to talk.
Great. It's a bop of a theme song. And then Austin gets on the mic or he gets on the Tron and he's like, "Well, son, what? You're lip syncing? What? You're cheating? you're fooling everybody. And then he tells the monkeys in the
you're
back.
You're lip syncing. You're mouthing the words. Liza Minnelli.
Oh my God. But then Eric Bischoff tries to actually sing and it's god awful. Austin decides to give him a fair shake. He spins the wheel one last time, the infamous Raw Roulette wheel. He purposely stops it on Pig Pen Fun because there is a big gigantic hog pen by the stage and you could smell this a mile away, literally and figuratively. Austin stuns Bischoff, shoves him into the pen, and he wins the Redneck Triathlon, I guess you could say. But, yeah, that was a lot to fast forward. Yeah, that was a lot. That's definitely a lot for you guys to fast forward through on this pay-per-view when you go and rewatch it.
If you want to shave half hour off this pay-per-view, let's say you got somewhere to be and you're trying to watch this, which I don't know why you would unless you're reviewing it like we are. That takes a good chunk, a good 30 minutes off the show.
Oh my God. Well, I mean, unless it's to, review it like we are, or just to go back and revisit this first time ever match that we're about to talk about. Ric Flair versus Shawn Michaels, two legends in their primes here. Well, one legend sort of in his prime. Ric Flair, his prime was like late 80s, early 90s, but this is at the point where Ric Flair almost won the World Heavyweight title from Hunter the night after Judgment Day, and very close to his hometown. It starts off like a very weird filler angle, I want to say, where they were teasing this tension between Triple H and Ric Flair, just for Flair to turn around and turn on Shawn Michaels. Basically, Michaels was trying to tell Flair, yeah, you're better than this. You don't need to work with Triple H anymore. Just remember who the hell you are. But after Flair low blows Michaels, they start into a feud. And this is an excellent build to an excellent program. And Flair tells Michaels, you will never be the Nature Boy Ric Flair. And that just echoes on to this theme of stuff that will be later said in the future. Fast forward to 2008 at SummerSlam when Shawn Michaels tells Chris Jericho, you tell your kids that daddy will never, ever be Shawn Michaels. And it's like, oh, love the parallels so much. Yep. Flair basically says you will always be a Ric Flair wannabe. And here you go. You have your match. And spoiler alert, ladies and gentlemen, this was the match of the night for Tomas and I both. I'm sure I can speak for him. But Ric Flair can sell anything like it's the most painful thing ever. Like, he could sell taking something up the stairs, and he could sell it like he was shot by a gun, Like, absolutely crazy.
A lot of people, including wrestlers, have criticized Ric Flair's ring psychology over the years. I thought his psychology was excellent in this show. At least in this match it was. He really knows how to work a body part. And don't sell Shawn Michaels short on his selling either. He was
true.
Selling the knee a ton for Flair here. And I will even go on accord to saying that 03 to 05 Ric Flair is criminally underrated. He could still go. He's still hanging in there with Triple H. He's hanging in this match with Shawn Michaels. I would say he wouldn't really start slowing down age and physically wise until like around 2006, like near the tail end of his career.
Yeah, no, I can agree with that. But there was some great chain wrestling and psychology in this thing. There's a figure 4 leg lock already because Flair put a gigantic bullseye on Shawn's knee. And then Shawn gives him a figure 4 of his own. I want more. I want more stolen finishers. Please give me that.
If Ric Flair wasn't in a plane crash and broke his back and his hips, I would have loved to see Ric Flair attempt a super kick, but I don't think Flair can get his leg up that high.
Ric Flair hitting a sweet chin music, man, that'll be the day. But Shawn pulls out a table and sets it up outside. Where was this in the opening contest?
Yeah.
Where was this?
That kind of broke the flow of this match for me just because it felt so out of place.
Little bit. But a young Randy Orton tries to interfere on Ric Flair's behalf, and Shawn disposes of him pretty easily early on. And then one of the most memorable spots of this show for me, watching it as a young kid, and I vividly remember my dad sitting with me and watching this pay-per-view live, Shawn crossbodies Ric Flair through the table, and my dad was like, could you imagine how many splinters Rick has in his back right now? And I'm like, oh my God. And JR even said, all the splinters, my God. And I'm like, God, I'd never want to go through a table,
Flair is probably in his 50s at this point. He's taking table spots. Give the man credit. Credit where credit is due.
Absolutely.
Before we get into the finish of this match, which kind of ruined it for me a little, not going to lie. Fun fact, if you have Shawn Michaels compilation DVD, I think it's called My Journey, he actually picks this match to include on the compilation over his WrestleMania match.
Yeah.
Which I found very strange. But then again, Michaels had some very odd choices of matches to include in that DVD. But I thought it was really cool that he included this match.
Might be because the Heartbreak and Triumph DVD already had the, whatchamacallit, the WrestleMania 24 career-threatening match. I could be very wrong on that. I don't have Heartbreak and Triumph. I do have My Journey somewhere up there. But Ric Flair does low blow both Shawn and the official. So there is a ref bump, a very clever ref bump on that front. And Earl Hebner, bless his heart for taking that. Shawn Michaels does have a fast comeback, hits a signature elbow drop, sweet chin music. Randy Orton comes back to life out of nowhere, literally with a chair shot before he ever got the RKO in his arsenal. And then he puts Flair on top of Michaels. 1, 2, 3. Flair wins. I mean, I see what you're saying about this finish being kind of convoluted with the interference. And I think if it wasn't like fully Randy Orton, like catering, or not catering, but if Randy Orton did not factor into this finish at all, this match hits 4 stars for me. Easy.
It's 3 3/4 for me because of the finish and the very out of place table spot. Not saying it wasn't cool. It was just very out of place.
Yeah, I feel like the ref was a little bit too lenient with the table spot, especially when you have Hell in a Cell coming up next with no disqualifications, and as barbaric as that is, like, it made it, like, I don't want to say it made the next match feel tame by comparison, because that's not the case whatsoever, but...
yeah, and the Randy Orton thing, it just felt unneeded. I just don't think Flair needs help. He's the dirtiest player in the game. If Flair's going to cheat, he knows a few tricks to cheat.
Oh,
but
absolutely.
I feel like this was just there to kickstart the Randy Orton Shawn Michaels feud. That would be inevitably coming up. But this was a really good match.
It was. I really
go out of my
enjoyed it.
way and jump the gun and say, don't watch this pay-per-view, watch this match.
Yes, 100%. If there's any one match that you have to go out of your way to see, Ric Flair versus Shawn Michaels for sure. Not the next match, not the main event, oddly enough, which is what?
We have in our main event, it's the culmination to this godforsaken feud. It's Triple H versus Kevin Nash for the World Heavyweight Championship in Hell in a Cell with Mick Foley as your special guest referee.
Yeah.
Now, the build to this match was very interesting because why is Foley the referee? Because the referees basically got together and formed a farce. They told Bischoff that they are not going to referee this match. Earl Hebner says he got hit in the shoulder with a sledgehammer at Judgment Day. Triple H had no remorse. And they refer back to last year at Judgment Day, Tim White getting his shoulder separated in the cell and how he has not refereed a match since.
Right.
So the referees are actually concerned for their safety. So they refuse to referee this match. And Bischoff says, fine, if the refs won't do it, I know someone who's crazy enough to do it. Here's Mick Foley.
Yeah. Was that Bischoff or was it Austin who brought Foley in?
Yeah, you're right. It was awesome.
I know Austin was the one who sanctioned the match for sure. So he must have been the one to bring in Foley because nobody else would. Literally nobody else but crazy Mick Foley, bless his heart, would referee this match. There is a great tie-in with Triple H himself, but that brings to me the main problem with this match. Is it just me or does Kevin Nash feel like a third wheel?
He does. This build was more about Triple H and Foley and less about Triple H and Nash.
It was so strange. Like, it's like they forgot about what happened to Judgment Day, and then they just were like, screw it. Triple H versus Mick Foley is the bigger story because they had some classic matches in 2000. So we'll just go off of that. Day,
Nash already felt unneeded to that point. It's kind of like when Nash signed his contract with WWE, he said, okay, I'll come back, but the first thing I'm doing is a world title feud. And they kind of just shoehorned him into this at the last second. We know Nash has a past with being power hungry and having creative control in his contract. So wouldn't be surprised if this came into play for this feud.
Probably. But God bless Triple H's heart. He was chucking himself into the cage walls trying to make this look as barbaric as possible, but I would honestly put this on the lower tier of Hell in a Cell matches, unfortunately. Like, the result was
down there.
The result was never in any doubt. The first part of this match was super slow. The crowd was bored by it. A Hell in a Cell match, the crowd was bored by.
Pre-PG era, and I don't like saying that. Pre-PG era, I would probably say this is down there among, like, I may even go as far as saying this is the worst Hell in a Cell match pre-2009.
I think this is better than Taker Bossman at Mania 15 for sure.
Oh, fair enough. Yeah,
so,
but it's down there. It's down there.
Yeah, definitely lower tier. Definitely lower tier. But Kevin Nash grabs the chair and the crowd finally wakes up. And he's just punishing Hunter, who's in agony through the first part of this match. But then Triple H makes a heroic comeback because, remember, he's the heel in all this. And he takes a ball-peen hammer and he hits Kevin Nash in the knee and then right in the face as if he were a member of Aces and Eights with the ball-peen hammer. And Nash is bleeding all over the place after that ball-peen hammer shot. And then Mick Foley challenges Triple H in the ring because, remember, you know... It's so freaking weird. Like, why is it Triple H versus Mick Foley as the build? If it's
kind of like they wanted Triple H and Foley, but Foley was just nah.
No,
the match.
No, I'll ref the match, but I'm not gonna do it. I'm good.
I'm not doing Hell in a Cell anymore.
You know, I'm not gonna get back in the ring until 2004. So, Kevin Nash, like I said, bloody mess, and then Triple H tries to make things interesting by putting a screwdriver to Kevin Nash's head. Yucky. Absolutely yucky. But, and then, if I could reference Tommy Wiseau for a minute, Triple H goes under the ring. Oh, hi, Barbie. He pulls out, Mick Foley's infamous 2x4 wrapped in barbed wire. And then Kevin Nash hits Triple H in the face with it because the clue is in the name, guys. Bad blood. Triple H has got to bleed. He has to.
Also, Chris Slash logic, if you introduce a weapon to the match, you're the one getting hit with it.
Yep. He sure does. But that allows Kevin Nash to make his heroic comeback. He's running from corner to corner, just clotheslining Triple H, somehow not tearing his quads along the way. There is a snake eyes into the barbed wire, but then Triple H pulls out this milk crate or something like that, and he breaks over Kevin Nash's face. Can't say I've ever seen that before.
Exactly. I don't remember that happening. That was pretty creative. I will give them that.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. But then Triple H grabs his patented sledgehammer. Mick takes it away. Triple H responds by punching Mick Foley square in the face because he's the ref, and it's about Triple H versus Foley and not Triple H versus Nash. Kevin Nash, I mean, there were some sick chair shots, and Foley was bleeding around this point. And then, because Mick Foley is a crazy bastard, he barely sells the chair shot. He gets up and hits the mandible claw on Hunter with Mr. Sacco. And then Kevin Nash...
That was the best part of the match for me.
Yes, absolutely.
Between the champion and the referee was my favorite part of the match.
God bless Mick Foley's heart. He was taking steel stair shots on accident from Kevin Nash, taking sick landings against the cell wall, bleeding all over the place. But then it was so weird because Foley didn't necessarily sell these shots. Kevin Nash hits a jackknife powerbomb, and then Foley bolts back into the ring. I'm like, yeah, good job, Mixter. Good job,
and Triple H kicks out of the jackknife.
He sure does. He sure does. I'm sure Kevin Nash must have been very pissed off by that. But then one more sledgehammer shot and one more pedigree. Foley mercilessly and reluctantly ends this and fairly counts the pinfall for Triple H, who retains. I mean, I can't. I was gonna go 3, but I'm being realistic. 2 3/4. 2 3/4.
Yeah, this is down there. I think I was gonna go with 3.5. I think I'll bump mine down to 3 1/4, just for the I guess the creativity. But this was one of the most pointless Hell in a Cell matches I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
Remember, literally the weekend before, Triple H and Kevin Nash had a street fight for the World Heavyweight Championship.
They sure
Rebellion.
did. They sure did. I think Foley was the ref in that match as well, but could be very wrong.
Bad blood, more like bad repetition.
Yeah, this pay-per-view gets a 5. It really does. Like, that's probably the lowest rating I've given one of these pay-per-views that we've done. But, I mean, when your second best match on the card features Goldberg, this was not a good start for the brand exclusive pay-per-views, my friend.
Absolutely,
not a good start.
Not for Raw, because, ladies and gentlemen, we have a treat for you next. This month technically, it's December now.
It sure is.
Recording this,
how in the hell?
We have a big treat for you. It's our first SmackDown exclusive pay-per-view, and despite me not being so familiar with the card, this is miles better than this pay-per-view. We can tell you that right now.
So excited. So you guys have got that to look forward to. You guys did vote in Armageddon 2000, which I'm sure Tomas is very excited. Contains a last man standing match on it, much to my chagrin.
And a 6-man Hell in a Cell match.
That's freaking right. So yeah, lots of wrestling content to look forward to. I mean, there's TakeOver War Games as well. Hopefully we can talk about that. But stay tuned for all this stuff and much, much more. Of course, I'm talking about movies all the time. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. This channel is on the road to
and before
1,000.
we end it, the next two pay-per-views, we will be doing the Royal Rumble and we will be doing Day 1.
Yes.
That's going to be very interesting. Day 1 is 30 days from today. It is the next WWE pay-per-view. Yeah, that's going to be very interesting.
Yeah, Day 1 already has a main event set up with Big E, Seth Rollins, and Kevin Owens in a triple threat for the WWE title. I'm thinking of also doing a retro poll for the Royal Rumble season with some classic shows there. So, yeah, let me know what you guys want to see done in the comment section below. Let me know what you thought of Bad Blood 2003, if you have any thoughts for that matter. But, yeah, like I said, this channel is on the road to 1,000 subscribers, so it would mean the world if you guys could help us out along with that, and hit that thumbs up as well if you guys enjoyed these rants that we got into. But yeah, much better shows I'm sure we'll be talking about after this. Until the next one, guys, it's been fun. Take care.